I think we're numb to how ridiculous some things in our day-to-day life and culture have gotten. But the head coach of an NFL team being the final straw that breaks the camel's back on arguably your best player, certainly your best player on offense, requesting a trade, being the fact that he was scrolling Instagram, evidently, and liked a tweet about you playing your last snap, it's the type of sentence that if you read 10 years ago, you'd say, well, that's cartoonish and dumb and doesn't make sense. And I don't think it's a good look for Antonio Pierce at all. I was talking to you before the show. I think it's ridiculous, the thing Belichick used to do, which is like, I don't have an Insta Space or a My Book, like pretending you don't know what these social media companies are. Like, I'm so locked in to studying the 48 Rams playbook. Like, that I think is nonsense.
I mean, he wasn't great on computers.
Okay, that's great. But I also think that doing what, like, the way petty high schoolers let someone know they want to break up with them to your star receiver is not the way a head coach should act. And I think that the Raiders have made cascadingly ridiculous decisions post the Davante Adams trade. They traded for Davante Adams. They gave up the 22nd and 53rd pick to get him because they thought they were close. After a year of it, they traded away the guy the guy who he came there to want to play with because they had a plan, but the plan was Jimmy Garoppolo, who they soured on within a year without really having a plan. They then fire the coach and hire the interim, and now they're going to trade Davante, I would imagine, for cents on the dollar because I don't think you're at the peak of your trade value when you're dealing with a lingering soft tissue injury. So I just think it's a disaster class by the Raiders, and somebody's going to get a really good receiver.
Well, look, I'm glad that Davante finally just said it. Get me out of here. And I don't even know that he said it that strongly. Because in the wording, I would prefer to be.
The word request is not in the news.
He wants to be the professional that does it the right way. And we get that. And I actually appreciate that on a certain level. But nobody's looking at Davante Adams like, what are you doing? Because you want out of there. This guy, maybe he's already a Hall of Famer. I mean, he's certainly got a good case, but maybe he's not because there's a lot of receivers going to put up big numbers in this era. And if I'm Davante Adams, I want to get to a place I can win. I want to get to a place where I've got a quarterback that can get me the football, and I want to boost my Hall of Fame credentials. And so he should want out of there. And look, I just think Antonio Pierce, apparently, it seems like he was talking about Davante as one of the guys he thought was making business decisions a few weeks ago.
Yeah, I imagine the wording, I prefer to be traded. He probably likes a lot of the guys in the locker room. He's probably friends with a lot of guys in the locker room, and he doesn't want to necessarily leave those guys out to dry. But if you're sitting there doing an interview and someone tells you, hey, your boss just liked a tweet that says he wants to, they should get rid of you, it's kind of hard to go back and think, this is a place that really values me, and my contributions are important. And what else can you do at that point besides saying you want to go? But to have this unfold the way that it did without the involvement of the GM, without the involvement of ownership, and to happen in a tweet,
I've never seen anything like it.
I don't know how to characterize it.
I thought it's been a boiling pot since he first got there and since Derek
Carr left.
The Netflix show receiver did not feel like he loved being there. He didn't hate being there. Every interview that he does, it's always percolating. So he's going to eventually move on, we know. So let's talk about next chapter. If I'm Aaron Rodgers and I just saw my team lose to the Broncos where we could only put up 9 points, maybe it was the false starts, maybe it was the drizzle, maybe it was the play calling, whatever. I am calling Joe Douglas? What am I doing right now? My number one weapon is available now. I flirted with him, playing with him again on that.
I'd probably call Woody. Like if you're Aaron Rodgers,
you call Woody directly.
Yeah, hey Woody, looks like Davante's going to be available.
Just kidding.
I really want him. Like forget about the other steps. Go to the owner. The owner.
That's just delicious.
Owner can everybody.
Right over the top of everybody.
Call Woody and look. Woody's gone all in. And the Jets have gone all in on this decision with Aaron Rodgers. And now you have an opportunity to get a receiver that he has a great relationship with. There's no learning curve. And if it doesn't work out, you're probably going to scrap the whole thing anyways. So if you're going all in, go all in.
Can I ask a question about that?
Coach.
If you're Davante Adams' closest advisor, are you telling him that's a good idea for you? Go play for the Jets. You again, everybody thinks, Nick, you hate the Jets, and as often as the case, I just think I'm going to end up being right on the Jets. Maybe I'll be wrong, but there's no reason for me to dislike the Jets. But I think they're poorly run, and I think the window doesn't exist. But if it does exist, it is as short of a window as any team in the league. Now, Davante's an older receiver, but I don't think he's looking at it like, I've got 15 games left.
But Nick, I'm sorry to interrupt, but if you're an older receiver, you don't want to have to go learn a new system. You can literally walk in the door, you know the entire system, you know the guy throwing you the ball, you've got great chemistry with the guy throwing you the ball, you know the hand signals, you are literally, you are inserted and you're the primary target the second you walk in the building without a learning curve.
So I buy all of that. The question I'm asking is, does that trump the fact that of all the places that he might be on his list, they're the one most likely that he has to then learn a new quarterback next year? Like all the other teams that we're talking about that would be trading for a quarterback, we don't think the quarterback is likely retiring at the end of the season.
Look, I would prefer, if I'm him, I'd love to get to Kansas City with Mahomes. Sure. But I think the Jets is a great landing spot because, as Coach said, you step right in with Rodgers. And they are all in. It's win this year. Douglas is probably gone, Salah, maybe even Rodgers if it doesn't go well this year. So go get Davante. Get as many weapons as you can.
So I agree with that, and I understand your rationale if that was how things played out. He was with the Packers. He looked around the landscape. Rodgers is gone. And he's like, you know who I'm going to play with? My friend. Hey, that organization hasn't made a lot of good decisions. So be it. I'm going to play with the quarterback I'm comfortable with because we played in college. So it seems like a repeat of the same thing. Like, I look around, certainly I could go there, like, I'll go with the quarterback. Hey, that team does not make a ton of good decisions. I'm cool with it.
So okay, 2 points to that. One is, it should be noted, he left Aaron. Aaron hadn't left.
Yeah, but it's
Aaron was still on the.
Hold on, he didn't leave Aaron. Aaron demanded he
Took all the
get
money.
paid. Aaron got go look at it. Aaron demanded he got paid, and they couldn't pay him both. So that's why he had to leave because there wasn't enough money.
Stock shares they have. You draw it up from the community.
It's always good to frame.
But the other point I was going to make is, okay, did that decision tree work out for him?
Well,
I mean, the whole let me go play with a quarterback I know and I'm comfortable with for a dysfunctional organization that I don't know how long the timeline is, that has not worked out well. So listen, Vegas thinks it's the Jets. The Jets obviously want him, even though I don't think another wide receiver is on their 5 biggest needs. Or the problems with them or whatever it is.
Well, Rodgers
but I just don't know that
the chemistry with Wilson at this point, so this would give him a big-time receiver that he's got chemistry.
Well, and you also get Davante going in there with that cachet who can talk to a young star and show him this is the way that it should be done. And no disrespect to Alan Lazard, but it's a different equation when Davante walks into a meeting room versus Allen.
Just quick, like Rashid, we don't know the status of Rashid. Mm-hmm. Do you think Brett Veach should go all in?
Well, I wouldn't go all in on a soon-to-be 32-year-old receiver, but I would trade. Listen, he was traded 3 years ago for the 22nd pick and the 53rd pick. So I would say he's now worth the 53rd pick. You know what I mean? He's worth a second-rounder right now. Also, you got to keep in mind, sorry to get nerdy cap guy on you, but even though Davante has multiple years left on his deal, this is just for this year. So I don't even know if it's a second-round pick because they made his deal fake, where the last 2 years were $35 million each year. So he's either going to have to rework it or get cut by whomever gets him a year from now, because you're not paying Davante Adams, $36 million a year next year. So yes, the Chiefs 100% should call. Whether Rashid is out 6 weeks or the season, they should call. I think the general feeling is the Raiders would never trade within the division because that's how sports tend to work. I've always felt that logic is backwards. If we're not on the same competitive timeline, I would prefer to trade within the division because I'm depleting your resources and adding to mine. So when I am good, you're actually weakened a bit. Davante's gone by then. But nobody thinks that. Like, the only person who's ever thought that way was you guys with Bledsoe. You guys traded him within the division. You know what I mean? Like, you guys traded him within the division.
And he beat us the first game, and then that was it.
Right, and then they didn't beat you for 10 years.
All right, one more team. We talked about, like, the Ravens are just running the ball. They seem to have found success with this.
I was surprised they weren't on your list, Brew.
That's not what they do. I mean, I think he's not Davante Adams, but I think he could be a lot better, but they're just not that's not their offense.
But they need something.
I don't think they would maximize, as much as I love Lamar, I mean, if I'm a receiver, that's not where I'm trying to go necessarily.
Can I throw one out there just real quick that seems illogical, but I actually think it makes sense? I think there is a real argument of T. Higgins for Davante Adams, which is the Bengals know he's gone after this year, and you know what I mean? We might get a comp pick back for him or whatever, but he's gone. Davante right now is better than him, right? And if you're the Raiders, you would trade for it knowing, okay.
But they're going to have to pay.
We're going to have to pay.
Should they pay him without a quarterback?
Well, I think you got it. At some point, you need good players. You need good, relatively young players, and they have plenty of money, you know what I mean, to do it. If I'm the Bengals and I'm like, man, we were trying to kind of have this be not a last dance, that's ridiculous, but with this group together, it started off terribly. We still think we're going to have to be offense because our defense isn't there. Davante is better than T. Higgins. You wouldn't be mortgaging the future, really, because you're losing him in a year anyway. That, to me, is one.
What about Dallas?
I was going to say, the best GM. What about the best GM?
And they're going to have
league?
to throw the ball the rest of the season because they can't run it a lick.
That makes more sense to me.
If they didn't have the money to sign,
But if it's Jerry Jones,
hey, they're going all in.
Yeah.
He said they were going all in. In the offseason.
I think his definition of all in is different than everybody else's.
Well, that's the type. The type of move Dallas would do. But I think that they were saying they were hamstrung cap-wise. But, I mean, Davante's like, you need to have around $8 million of cap space to trade for Davante Adams for this season, and the next year you just got to cut it. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.